When I was 5 years old, I wanted to be a boxer, I wanted to play the drums, and I wanted to monkey. So that should tell you about me, okay? And wrestlers, when I look at a wrestling magazine, I always like the most extreme looking wrestler. So to me, I'm not interested in the average person. My father was a gangster type. My mother was another case. So I mean, I've always been surrounded by people that aren't the norm. So, for me, I find the people who I photograph interesting. I find them sort of like my friends. I find them beautiful. I'm Bruce Gilden.
The street as a vocation, as a moment of discovery, as an impact with reality and with the world in continuous flux. Bruce Gilden, a kid from Brooklyn, raised among stories of gangsters and life in the outskirts, is the photographer who seizes infinite combinations, both human and social. Individuals to follow, to intersect and enthrall with his flash, stealing their souls. In each photo emerges the pretension to exceed appearances and bear the authenticity of the lives that meet his gaze.
Well, I have well, for my candid shots, it's always been a Leica since 1977, film camera, and I have a flash on the cord in my left hand. So, and then I was a good athlete, so as you get older, it's harder, you know. You have to learn, you have to be sensitive to the people you're photographing because you have to know what move they're gonna do next. Sometimes almost like a border collie with the cows, you know, you herd the cows. So sometimes I try to make people, without touching them, walk in a certain way so I know where they're gonna be so I can go get their picture. And the closer you are, I think the more emotional pictures have a tendency to be, okay? And I'm not talking about the situation of a starving child crying or something like that. That's not a very good picture, okay? I mean, it may break your heart, but it's a little bit of a cliche. So I don't love cliches, okay?
A Magnum photographer since 1998, Bruce Gilden knows how to cast a glance into hidden environments, into the underground that he knows so well. His photo features on the Yakuza done in Japan show a dark side of the Eastern Mafia, with its essence, its laws, and its implications. But above all, they underscore his ability to record the social nuances of organized crime with his camera, as none other has been able to.
I grew up with that. I mean, my father used to wear hats, thick gray hair, pinky rings, you know, big cigar. I mean, come on, where did I get it? I got it from there, you know, and I've always been fascinated by that. When I was a child, my father was everything to me. You know, I idolized him. He was George Washington, he was the fireman, he was everything. So, I guess it must have come from there. I'm not good at finding the people. I'm good once I'm in. They like me and I like them. I don't ask too many questions, but I also stand up for myself. And I plan to do a book on that, but I have to get mafia, well, or bad Tough Guys would be the title, and I know how far to push it. And I don't inquire, and I don't want to be around, and I don't want to know. No, I'm not curious that way.
The street is not only the place where he grew up, it is also the school where he learned his craft. The street offers him his subjects, never commonplace types.
She's walked across the city.
Distinctive traits stand out on each of his photos in faces, habits, and gestures. An extremely up-close glimpse which captures the essence of urban life. But Gilden's pictures also narrate rare, impenetrable stories, often ignored by many. Each individual image has its story in its completeness.
I guess the street was my home. We had, I think, a second-story apartment until I was 8 in Williamsburg, and I used to look out the window at the street life below. Life was lived on the street. People would sit out in front of their house, their apartment building. So the street was really where I wanted to be. I don't think I have the typical entree into photography that most people have. And I'm very streetwise. My life is the street. What happened was when I was, I don't know, 18 or whenever, when the Antonioni movie came out, Blow Up, I thought the movie was quite mediocre. I'm not a big Antonioni fan. What happened though was photography was trendy then. It was everywhere. You know, people started to take photographic classes. It made it in the eye of the public, okay? And that's what struck me. I have certain thoughts about life. I have certain thoughts about society. Society isn't perfect. People are starving. You know, rich people are getting richer. The poor are getting poorer. People are selfish. I mean, there's all different categories of selfishness. I wouldn't use the word critical, and I wouldn't use the word sarcastic. I mean, you can find a lot of humor in my photographs also, and they're well-formed and they're elegant. And somebody had a good statement to me once. They said that when I photograph fashion, I make the girls more beautiful, and on the street, I make the people, you know, well, less beautiful, okay? But that's not my intent, okay? My intent is to photograph things that if they're not placed in front of you, you wouldn't see.
The recognizable features of the Mafia are extremely evident in Bruce Gilden's photos, as are the subjects portrayed by the photographer belonging to the Yakuza world. But it's certainly not the pinstripe suits, sunglasses, and jewelry making them stand out. The real uniform of the Yakuza, the honorable society of the rising sun, is the skin. An inestimable turnover, the fruit of drug trafficking, prostitution, gambling, and construction, which extends its frontiers all the way to the United States.
The Yakuza is the Japanese Mafia, and they have a thing where if you do something wrong, they start to cut off the joints of your fingers, like one by one. You have one like there, one like there, one like there, one like there. So they really draws blood. You have all these tattoos that are symbolic of different things. I don't know what each one means, okay? But I did photograph them, and what I liked about them is how they look like they're influenced by old gangster movies in their garish dress. And how they look, because a lot of them are big guys, and they look like Yakuza, but I'm sure there's plenty of Yakuza top level that run the biggest businesses in Japan, and they look like average people. So, I mean, that's the myth. But there are people that do look like that. Me, it's all about visual, okay? I don't care, for example, if you were the biggest mafia, the biggest anything. If I'm not interested in photographing you, doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to photograph you. There's a couple of people out of X amount that I will photograph because they're interested in visually. And my statement comes from those people.
Bruce Gilden's reportage on the Yakuza is certainly one of his pieces of greatest impact. The photographer establishes himself in that world by attaining the necessary trust, stealing, but at the same time showing himself to be a conscious witness to attitudes, habits, and rituals. An original portrait of rare incisiveness, which remains among the few visible documents of a world in continuous expansion.
You stand by your family, there's a hierarchy. It's, for example, in the picture that you selected, those two guys work in Ginza. The guy lighting the cigarette is an underling of the other guy, so that's why he lights the cigarette. You know, there's an order. You respect the ones that are above you. And I don't know how high they are on the ladder, but neither one of them is low, okay, I would say, because they're in a good area, so that means they're controlling some moneyed interests. They dress very well, expensive suits, and they look like they're big boys, you know. The guy who is having his cigarette lit, if I remember, it's been many years, I'd say he's about 5'7", 5'8", ex-boxer, and he's 5'7", 5'8", wide. He's imposing, I would say. And I'd say both of the figures are imposing. And to be imposing, you don't have to be always the biggest guy on the block. It's how you carry yourself. I had met a guy who was the partner of the guy who was getting his cigarette lit, and he introduced me to a couple of Yakuza. They took me, because I think I had taken him to dinner. So he took me to dinner, and then he said, well, let's meet a couple of my friends in a coffee shop. That was taken in a coffee shop in Ginza. So the guy lit the cigarette, and I took a picture with the flash, and I said, can you hold it? You know, so I took about 5 or 6 pictures, and one of them was that picture. Welcome to Coney Island.
Welcome, yeah.
There's nobody here. This is like the winter. Today's a terrible day. You know, it's not like a summer day. It's more like the winter almost. Though there are more people, but normally in the 40s and the 50s, 30s, 20s, this was packed. You know, when Ouija was here, Lisette Modell, on the beach, you couldn't get a spot. Well, yeah, at the turn of the century, a lot of rich people came here. Then it became people, you know, a lot of people, the most recent immigrants would come here. And you didn't have air conditioning, so they came because of the fact that it was cool by the beach. And you go swimming, you have a day out. Now, what I like is, well, my wife will kill me for saying it, but you can always tell who are the most recent immigrants because they all come to Coney Island. I remember one of the first times I was here, I was 24, and a black guy grabbed my wrist like this. He went like that. He said, give me your camera. And I said, you must be fucking kidding. I said, take a fucking walk. You know, that was it. But, you know, you had that kind of characters, you know, but I'm pretty fearless. Well, not stupid, but I know where I feel secure in that, okay? If they play Coney Island Baby, that would really be good.
Really?
This is one of my favorite doo-wop songs. Are you taping any of this song? Okay.
Yeah.
So young. Basically, people might find this hard to believe, but I'm basically a shy person, okay? So I didn't really like to talk to people. I don't know if I had a lot of confidence except in sports at that time. So I wanted to pick a place, Coney Island, because I lived in New York, okay? And I'd only been to Coney Island twice in my life before, so it wasn't like, even though I grew up there, I never had gone there. I wanted to pick a place that's near, where there are a lot of interesting people, and of course 1967 was different than 1940 or 45 or 50, but it was a place where you could go, you know, people are there, generally a little looser. So I just went to Coney Island, and I continued, I liked it. But I work so close that people don't realize sometimes I take their picture. They look behind them like, that wasn't me. But for me, I want to try to get the guts out of somebody. I want their soul, okay? And when I'm that close, it has more energy. And it's funny, I don't crop my pictures, and sometimes it would be wiser if I backed up a little, but I don't feel I have the right thrust if I back up. You don't have that in your face. So to me, that's very important. It's also very important that I'm a blunt person, so I'm not trying to hide. And you have to use stealth, otherwise you don't get the shot, because then someone knows, you know, you're going to take their picture and everything changes. But I'm so close, I mean, that it's not, the other shots, like most people work, they'd be like a stage set. I'm part of the whole situation, and I'm comfortable.
Both the world of fashion and magazines have found in Gilden the right approach to authentic, original, dynamic narration. From the Times reportage of the new candidacies for the seat of mayor of New York to the photo features for Nike, Diesel, Burberry. His gaze does not change. His subjects follow no aesthetic criteria. They live and perform. Like in the Mafia funeral reportage, which has become a cult sequence for style and narration. And once again, the Mafia, as an excuse to narrate the ordinary moments of daily life.
It's funny because almost every year, I won an award in Germany for my pictures in Stern of the Yakuza. And there's a friend of mine who did pictures on the Firm in England. He won the award. So it's always like, they like that. They like the dark side of life. The idea of the Mafia funeral fashion shoot was my idea. The idea I had was, I was sitting at the table over there in my apartment, and I said, wait a second, I like the Mafia, I do fashion, so why don't I do a story combining the two? The original idea was that I'm the head of the Mafia. You didn't know that, but no, in the shoot, the person who's going to represent the protagonist is, you know, he's dead. And he sees, he's in the grave, okay? But he sees now when he's dead, all the people that, his wife, his mistress, and everything, and how they all were fucking him over. Like his second in command was fucking his mistress, you know, whatever, okay? All this bullshit. So it was, I wanted to have the angle of the main Mafia guy. All the pictures were shot from but we couldn't do it, okay? So the funny thing was that everybody refused it. Italian Vogue said, oh, we got somebody who can do that, but they can't do it like me, okay? So Magnum did a fashion magazine on me. So we're able to do it through them. Now, so my assistant called up all the cemeteries around, and all the Catholic cemeteries said, what are you, crazy? We can't do that here. The Jews said, how much? I'm Jewish, but I like that. I like that series. I think it's pretty good.
Haiti is a place of the soul for Gilden, a land in which he recaptures the same vital force as the outlying streets of the New York of his childhood. Preferred location since his early years of activity, it has been narrated in its roots, its colors, and its dramas.
I've been in Haiti 22 times. I went from 19 times from 1984 to 1995, approximately 2 weeks each trip. And then I thought I was done with the country, because once you do a book, you know, that puts like, you're never done, but it puts a sort of closure on it. And then the earthquake happened, and I wanted to go right back. But as I said, I couldn't go right back. But I got there 5 weeks later, and I've been there 2 times after that first trip. My favorite country. Look, everybody I photograph, I identify with. After the earthquake, I got Medicine Sans Frontières, allowed me to go into their hospital in Cité Soleil. And I walked in and I see all these people missing a leg, broken hips, whatever. And this is 5 weeks after the earthquake, okay? And I went in, I start dancing for them, I make them all laugh. I know some dirty words in Haiti, in Creole, sometimes I use them depending on who I'm talking to. I'm open, I'm honest, I make them laugh. They like me and I like them. For example, my heart was broken there that one time, and I cried because I have a picture of it, it's in the book. It's not in the book, it's on the Magnum site. I always show it when I lecture. It's of a beautiful girl who's about, I'd say, early 20s, and she lost one of her legs at the knee. And she's laughing, laughter from the soul. I mean, she just lost her fucking leg. I mean, she's laughing from I owe it to her. I mean, what strength, what courage. I mean, I cried, you know, because if there is a God up there, why her? You know, there's plenty of other people that don't have what she has inside. I love their spirit, okay? I don't think, I'm not glorifying this, I don't think they always do the best things for themselves, because it's like this vicious cycle of them going nowhere. And the other picture is the one that I think is a very good picture, much better than the one of the smiling girl, is of a lady in the camp that was built, a temporary camp across from the presidential palace. And that was a candid shot. I saw her to my left, and I whirled and I turned quickly with the flash in one hand, and I took a picture, I snapped it. And it's a strong picture. She's wearing like a man's coat, and she's young. When I say young, I say mid-20s. And every time my wife sees that, she felt that she was violated sexually the night before. And she may not be wrong, because in the camps, supposedly at night, you know, you have these thugs that go around and do and take what they want. And also, I've done the houses, the structures in black and white, and then I went back and I did them in color. That's very poignant pictures for me, because some of these structures, you know, how do you live in there for one day? Black and white is the abstraction. Color's the reality. So for me, I see in black and white. Now, having said that, in the last year and a half, I've been working in color. But I still see in black and white. I've walked around the streets of New York with a friend of mine who's also a street photographer, but he works in color. And he'll say to me, "Bruce, did you see that person with the red kerchief?" I said, "What are you talking about?" You know, because I see differently. Now I'm going to a lot of assisted living facilities, and I'm photographing the people there, and I'm photographing not exclusively, but a lot of women. And it's my catharsis. It's like, I guess, the ode to my mother. And I'm able to deal with it now at 66. My mother had a pretty sad life. She was institutionalized, and she also eventually committed suicide. And that's always been very tough for me. Not the act of suicide, but I don't think I gave her enough of what I should give to a mother. I don't really photograph my father or my mother. I photograph my experiences with my father and my mother. You know, there's a difference. So I photograph the effect they had on me.